So, game week 5, match day 5 in the Premier League in 2024-25. There were some massive games here, some shock results, and let's go through the 5 things that we learned from game week 5 in the Premier League. So I pick out 5 games, I give my thoughts on them. Let's get into it. So I'll start with the early kickoff on Saturday. West Ham United against Chelsea. Chelsea ended up winning this one 3-0, a comfortable win in the end for the Blues. West Ham really did not get going. Nicholas Jackson putting Chelsea up 2-0 after less than 20 minutes. Cole Palmer getting a goal just after half time as well. Chelsea, in truth, they were very clinical with their chances, getting 3 goals from 5 shots on target is very impressive indeed from the Blues. West Ham, unfortunately, they created a lot, but they did not take any of their opportunities, drawing a blank again. And it's really early on, it's really early days, but people are talking about pressure on Julian Lopetegui, and you can kind of understand why with the amount of investment in the squad, really, how much expectation there was on them. Currently they sit in 14th, if not 1 in 3, just the 1 victory to their name so far this season. It's not looking good for West Ham. I do think they can turn it around, I don't see why not, but at the end of the day, right now the table is not reading very well, and Chelsea is reading quite well for them. They've kind of ghosted into that top 5 or 6 or so. Really surprised at that. They've not seemed like they've been playing that well, really, but at the end of the day, got the job done with that, very much so. And yeah, they're in the hunt for Champions League this season, believe it or not. It's incredible scenes, really. Next up, let's go with one of the 3 o'clock games. Fulham against Newcastle United. Fulham coming into this one with not the best form. Newcastle coming into this with really good form, really. Being one of the form teams of the division, one of the teams well up there in the order. So you think this would be a good result for the away side. However, it was anything but. 3-1 victory for Fulham. Did not see that coming at all. Newcastle dominating possession. Fulham creating more opportunities with a little of the ball they had. 11 shots on target, 3 goals for them. Raul Jimenez giving them a goal after just 5 minutes. Emil Smith-Rowe, another signing for them this summer. He got another goal after 22 minutes. Harvey Barnes got one back for Newcastle just after the half an hour mark, but Reece Nelson put the game beyond doubt in injury time as Newcastle were chasing it. So yeah, an amazing win for Fulham, really. Newcastle disappointing, but they're still up in 6th in the table, so it could be a lot worse, let's be honest here, especially since it's fair to say they didn't have the best summer transfer window. I've reviewed every Premier League club's transfer window, by the way, guys, if you want to check it out. I've done individual videos for all of them, and of course as well a big long supercut of them all as well. So yeah, let's move on to the next match. I was tempted to talk about Tottenham, but I'm going to talk about Liverpool instead, because they temporarily went to the top of the Premier League thanks to a 3-0 comfortable win against Bournemouth at Anfield. Bournemouth have had a good season so far, to be fair, coming into this one. Luis Diaz, though, getting a brace in just 3 minutes, 26th and 28th minute, and then Darwin Núñez put the game really to bed before half an hour mark, before the half-time mark, I should say. Liverpool dominating the possession and dominating the chances. Bournemouth had chances, to be fair. They had opportunities to get one back, but really it was not their day, and it's not a surprise result, really, if I'm being honest. So Liverpool were top of the Premier League for a bit, but there is one game that settled that in terms of who was on top. That's Arsenal against Manchester City. But let us talk about Brighton and Nottingham Forest next. Going into this one, both sides unbeaten. Both sides having incredible starts to the season. Forest, of course, coming off of that 1-0 incredible win against Liverpool at Anfield, their first win at Anfield since a man has stepped onto the moon, since 1969. Brighton, of course, having some incredible results so far this season. I think their only points that they dropped before this were against both Ipswich and Arsenal. So obviously not coming in the best form just because of, the game against Ipswich, but yeah, this one was eventful for sure. Brighton, I mean, to be fair, I think Brighton could have won this one. They really could have done, but we had 4 goals from 6 shots on target between the 2 sides, so both sides being very clinical. Brighton having 70% possession in this one, absolutely dominating the ball, but it was Chris Wood who put the away side up after 13 minutes, unlucky for the Seagulls with a penalty. Then Jack Hinselwood and Danny Welbeck got 2 goals for Brighton just before the half-time mark to put the Seagulls soaring into a half-time lead. On Sosa, though, he, not even Forest were knocking on the door, to be fair, and it was answered by Sosa, who got an equalising goal for Forest after 17 minutes. Morgan Gibbs-White, he was very much testing the referee and got a second yellow card. I think it was for a bad foul, bad tackle in this case. Nottingham Forest down to 10 men for the last 10 minutes or so, but they held on. Both sides going into the next match day unbeaten. Their unbeaten streaks continue. Now, Manchester City against Arsenal, the final game I want to talk about. I have already done an in-depth 5 things we learned about this match, and even that was not enough to cover everything. It was an incredible title game, this. It ended up 2-2 in the end. The main highlights of it, I'll just go for it as quick as I can because we're already overrun in terms of time. Erling Haaland scores his 100th goal for Manchester City to put the Citizens 1-0 up after just 10 minutes or so. Rodri was taken off injured, very unlucky for him. He could be out for a while. Like a nasty knee injury that he got there with that one. Arsenal got 2 goals back before half-time. Calafiori with an absolute worldie and Gabriel with a header from a corner. Manchester City were then given the advantage of an extra man because Leandro Trossard got a second yellow card for a controversial kicking the ball away incident, but nowhere near as controversial as the one for Declan Rice a few weeks ago against Brighton. Sorry, I'm having to say it, but honestly, it was an incredible game. I watched it live. It was just unbelievable. Arsenal having to play the entire second half of 10 men. David Raya pulling out some worldly saves. Masterclass of defending from Arsenal. Manchester City just dominating the chances. Arsenal being completely outdone in terms of their actual possession of the ball. Arsenal not even getting a shot of any description in the entire second half. They looked as though they were going to go back to the Emirates with all 3 points, but John Stones, a late substitute, the centre-back playing as a striker, came up for the corner, ended up tapping into the net. It's no more than Man City deserved, if I'm being honest. I mean, I would have loved to see Arsenal win it, but you can't deny that Man City deserved something from that. They were absolutely on top, no end. There was needle, there was fights, there was all sorts of stuff breaking out. Unbelievable scenes at the Etihad Stadium. It's exactly what you want from a title fight, a title. Not a title decider though, because there's such a long way to go, and we'll do it all again in the new year at the Emirates this time. So I can't wait for these 2 rivals to come and clash. This is a rivalry that has been made over the last 2-3 seasons or so. These two do not like each other. You know, you got the master in Pep Guardiola and the protege in Mikel Arteta, and that's very replicative of how their team's fortunes are as well. You know, Man City being the 4-time champions, Arsenal being the team that are trying to win their first championship in over 20 years. But there we go, guys. Massively overrun. 5 things we learned from this game week. It was an incredible game week. That Man City against Arsenal game, do go watch my full in-depth 5 things video, because even that is, you know, relatively rushed because there was so much going off. You can't, I feel sorry for the guys making the video highlights over on Sky, because I don't know how you're going to do it in a few minutes. But yeah, there we go, guys. Of course, we'll be reacting to some of the biggest talking points in the world of football this week coming up, of course. And as always, we'll be previewing and reviewing the next game week in the Premier League, game week 6. Let's hope it's a bit quieter, but it won't be. Of course it won't be. But I'm hoping it won't be as well, in all seriousness. You know, entertaining football is great, even when you're out of breath trying to cover it in under 5 minutes and running to about 8 instead. So yeah, see you very soon for more football content on thefootballchronicle.com, guys.